It is now 9 o'clock, and we would like to ask that you rise and join me in the invocation to be given by Pastor Susan Bennett with Stockbridge Presbyterian Church, if she's here. There she is again. Thank you. And remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Bennett.
Let's pray together. Our gracious and loving God, you have told us very clearly in your word that without you, we can do nothing. Nothing is a big word, but we believe you, and we know that with you, you who strengthen us and love us and undergird us and are with us, in you, we can do anything, whatever you want done. So that is our prayer this morning, Lord, that your Spirit would fill each heart, fill this place, that you would lead and guide, that you would help us to discern what your will is, because what happens in this room, in this place, is important. And we want to do it your way and according to your will. We thank you for the privilege of serving you. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Bennett. This meeting of the Board of Commissioners is hereby called to order. We do have an announcement that the following items which were advertised for this meeting has been postponed. Item 14E, the public hearing regarding the Drew McCright requesting an appeal of a ZAB decision to deny a conditional use request for an event facility in District 2 has been postponed by the applicant. And also, item 15, the adoption of the 2017-2018 Henry County Employee Insurance Plan has been postponed by the county manager. We now will call for a motion to amend the agenda by removing the above referenced planning and zoning items and also for the Henry County Insurance Plan. We got a motion by Commissioner Barnes. Got a second by Commissioner Wilson. Any discussions, comments? All in favor? Any opposed? We will now move into, we'll ask Melissa Robinson to come forth and to present a proclamation for the Fair Housing Month.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. This morning we have a proclamation recognizing April as Fair Housing Month. Whereas in April of each year, America celebrates the signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, enacted under President Lyndon Johnson following the aftermath of the assassination of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And whereas Title 8 of the Act is commonly known as the Fair Housing Act. And whereas the Fair Housing Act enunciated a national policy prohibiting discrimination concerning the sale, rental, and financing of housing based on race, color, religion, national origin, sex, and as amended, disability and familial status. And whereas April 11, 2017 marks the 49th anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act. And whereas fair housing means that our communities are open and welcoming, free from housing discrimination and hostility, consisting of neighborhoods of opportunity where our children can attend quality schools, and our environment allows us to be healthy, and economic opportunities and self-sufficiency can grow. And whereas the Fair Housing Act remains relevant in 2017 for the continued elimination of discrimination in housing opportunities, and to affirmly further fair housing choices for all U.S. residents. And whereas illegal barriers to fair housing opportunities, no matter how subtle, diminish the rights of all. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Henry County Board of Commissioners' commitment to fair housing is a living commitment, a shared goal and responsibility of supporting fair housing opportunities for all persons. And they join in the national celebration by proclaiming April 2017 as Fair Housing Month and encourage all agencies, institutions, and individuals, public and private, that Henry County, Georgia is to abide by the letter and spirit of the Fair Housing Law. This fourth day of April 2017, signed by Chair June Wood, attested by County Clerk Stephanie Braun.
Thank you.
And we do have Ms. Marion Thomas from the Metro Fair Housing Services Incorporated here to receive this proclamation.
Okay, all right. We'll come down for pictures. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. If I might add that for Fair Housing Month, we are having a fair housing training at the Fairview Public Library on this Friday, April 7th, starting at 1 p.m. Again, that is this Friday at the Fairview Public Library.
Thank you, Ms. Sanyar. We appreciate that. Okay, we will now move into the presentation by the Henry County Convention and Visitors Bureau by Ms. Laura Luker.
Thank you, Commissioners. Each year, I just like to come and do a little recap of kind of where we are from last year. I am Laura Luker. I am the Director. Sorry. I am the Director of Tourism for the Henry County Convention and Visitors Bureau. And just today we're going to talk about what the Convention and Visitors Bureau does with our portion of the bed tax. So hotel motel tax is basically split into two parts. 60% of the hotel motel tax is what's considered unrestricted. It is collected by the county and used for whatever purposes that the county deems appropriate. And then the 40% that is collected, that is it's mandated to be given to a private nonprofit for the promotion of tourism, and it's considered restricted funds for the promotion of tourism. And that is the percentage that the Convention and Visitors Bureau is responsible for managing, and for the activities that I'm going to talk about, that is what we have done with that 40%. So with that being said, there is a more detailed information about all of this in your packet. You have a folder in front of you that has a full presentation. We don't have time to get into the specifics today, but it does have additional details in that packet, as well as a detailed grid that breaks down what is considered an allowable expense with those restricted funds. The restricted funds can only be spent for the promotion of tourism, no infrastructure, no capital projects. It is strictly to promote tourism and to run a tourism organization. So just so you have a picture of what the tourism picture looks like in Henry County currently, the most recent economic impact data that is available is from the Georgia Department of Economic Development study that was done. It was just completed in September, and it was for 2015. It does tend to lag about a year behind. But in 2015, tourists spent about $253 million in Henry County. So that's close to $700,000 a day. It's a substantial amount. And also, that means it's about $7.29 million in local taxes that was contributed to the economy from tourists, which translates into a tax saving for Henry County households of about $256 per household. So we do our part to make sure that the tourists continue to find out, learn more, and visit Henry County so that that economic development continues to come to Henry County. And so with that percentage of the restricted funds that is set aside for marketing and for advertising, some of the things that we do are we maintain a website. We have a visitor's guide that we produce every year. We purchase print ads. We have digital ads. We also have billboards that we promote Henry County, both events and just general awareness billboards that are all up and down I-75, both inside and outside Henry County. We have 3 digitals and 3 static billboards. The 3 digitals we typically use for promotion of local events, whereas the statics are more awareness driver billboards. We also have, I mentioned the visitor's guide, and in that visitor's guide, we also, every community, county, city has a free ad in that guide, and it's a full listing of all of our attractions, our restaurants, and our hotels, and that's distributed all over the state. There's about 30,000 of those that we print and distribute. We also set aside a percentage of our budget every year for each of our county and cities that participate in the CVB to use in a way that they would like to promote tourism attractions or events that are important to them. So the Nash Farm Farmers Market, you can certainly use some of this percentage to promote that, or the Veterans Museum, attractions that's in Henry County. So you kind of say, these are the things that I would like to promote, and this is kind of the ways, and we'll work with you to make sure that we get, that those get some promotion. So that is separate from what we do as an organization to promote Henry County as a whole. We also, for last year, we spent a good percentage of our time working on developing a new website. We have had a beautiful website, but it just was not mobile responsive, which means that if you were looking at it on a mobile phone, you would not see all of the content that existed on that site. And it was a very deep and rich site, but all the content was not accessible. So we've modified that site so it is responsive, so all 500, 600 pages of it you can now see on our site. And it also gives a lot more details for each of our cities and our counties that participate. So there's more facts, more information, itineraries, and that kind of thing. As part of that website, when we rolled it out, one of the new things that we did was develop a new campaign that was called History Has a Name. We know that in Henry County, one of the unique assets that we have is a lot of these kind of homegrown attractions and restaurants, things that do not have a lot of corporate money per se. We're not a Georgia Aquarium or a World of Coke that has lots of big money behind them. We have some small homegrown organizations that the blood, sweat, and tears of local people have gone into, and there's some really, really unique stories that we wanted to tell. So we have interviewed and done kind of some documentary style videos telling those stories with currently 8 partners, and we have plans to do 3 more this year with more every year, telling those stories about tourism places and tourism attractions in Henry County. Now, we didn't just stop at videos, though. That is part of a larger campaign. The videos themselves live on our website as well as on YouTube, but they're also embedded in landing pages for each of these attractions. So Southern Bell Farm, Jailhouse Brewing, Atlanta Motor Speedway. We interviewed the owners, the partners, the curators in the case of the Veterans Museum who run these museums day to day, have a detailed Q&A with each of them so that people can find out more about those people. And so that lives on that site as well. And so far it has performed incredibly well. People are very interested in the and in the people. One of the other things that we did last year that has really moved the needle for the Convention and Visitors Bureau is we hired a digital marketing assistant. She manages our social channels and our website. And from those, she's been able to grow our social followings between 12 and 35%, depending on the different platform. And we all know that social media has really become a key way we communicate with people. And so she's done a fantastic job in that regard. Also, it is not enough these days to simply place ads and expect people to come. We really need to have third parties talking about us and talking about us in really positive ways. So we contracted with Lori Rowe Communications, which is a PR media agency, and they are helping us to write and distribute blogs to travel writers and to travel bloggers in hopes that they will get some positive publicity and from a third party that is not us talking about how wonderful we are, that someone else talking about how wonderful we are. We've had some success with that recently. One of our articles was picked up by the Chattanoogan.com, and it was actually picked up verbatim, just as we had written it, talking about the wonderful places to eat in Henry County, these local homegrown places. So that's really exciting. The other thing that they've done for us is they've built out what's called a travel media press room. This gives journalists 24-hour access to photos, videos, facts, press releases, anything. So if they're on a deadline and they know they're doing a story about Henry County and they forgot to get a photo, they can go to that site, pull a photo off, and that makes this much more likely to be included because they have that access and have that information right there. We also know because third-party endorsements are so important, we've done a lot of work with bloggers and with travel writers. We started in 2015 with a travel media fam that produced a lot of results for us, and so we've continued to work with a lot of those bloggers, both organically, just feeding them information as it comes available, as well as sponsoring them and asking them to come to Henry County, visit and experience, say, like we just had one come and do the NASCAR race and show how family-friendly it is. It generated not only multiple social media posts, but also a really, really good blog as far as how families can experience NASCAR weekend very affordably and have a really good time. So it's just creating new ways for people to talk about us and to tell our story in different and new ways. And so those are just a couple of the things that we did last year. Looking forward to a really fun and exciting this year as well. At this point, if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
All right, any questions from the board? Yes.
Thank you, Laura, for being here. I'm so excited about what you guys are doing. I actually attended the Georgia Tourism and Film Industry event, and it really opened my eyes to how important it is for us to make sure. You guys are to be commended for the homegrown businesses that are here that you're supporting through the CVB, and I think those are one of the greatest assets that we have in our county, is that we have those things. I had a couple of questions. The billboards, the 3 billboards that you guys have running the digital, give me the locations for those billboards.
We have one that is just north of Jonesboro Road in Morrow. They face, as traffic is coming southbound, they can see them. So it's just north of, it's on I-75. They're all on I-75. So one's just north of Jonesboro Road in Morrow. We have one just north of Hudson Bridge, Eagles Landing exit. It's on the right-hand side, heading southbound as well. And then one left-hand side just north of Jodico Road exit. And those are available. We make those available to our partners. If you have an event coming up, we can put billboards up on a space available basis if it's a tourism event.
Right. And so when you say partners, are those people that are members of the chamber, or how do you become a partner? How do the public know how they can become a partner with the CVB?
It is based on your geographic. If you are in the county, unincorporated Henry County, Stockbridge, Locust Grove, or Hampton, the city limits of each of those cities. If you are a tourism business, a restaurant, a hotel, an attraction within those geographic areas. So basically, we define tourism partners as anybody having to do with the hospitality industry.
They have to be a member of the chamber to
They do
get that
not.
service. Okay, great. And how do you bid out the bloggers, the website designers, and all of that you guys pay out of the funds? Is that bidded out, or do you just choose someone that you know that does that type of service?
For the website, we did do we sent out a request for proposal and we got about 7 or 8 different proposals in, and then we did a interview with our top 5 choices, and we had our board participate in that, and we narrowed it down from there to 2 or 3, and then had additional follow-up questions, and then ultimately picked the one we felt best met our needs.
Okay, and is that the same with the bloggers and other services that you spend out?
It does depend. Like for the bloggers, we pick bloggers that best meet our audience. So say, for example, 365 Atlanta Family is a blogger we work with extensively because their market is families, and that's our strongest market. And she has a fantastic following. She, receives about 300,000 monthly visitors to her site. She has a very loyal following, and so we just know that she's our market. And so that's how we do for bloggers specifically, because we want to make sure that we're hitting the market that we need to.
Okay, and I saw on your expenditures that you guys have the Heritage Museum under the 17,000, I think it is, that's on here. And then we talked about the monies that go back to the organizations that we can use. I would like to see all of our parks and recs to go up under there, not just the Heritage Museum. If we're doing something at Nash, I wouldn't want it to go out of the 18,000 that we can use. But if one park is going up under that budget, I would like to see that. Is there a reason why it can't be that way?
What you're seeing under Veterans Museum was used out of that county portion, the 18,300 that we have set aside.
Okay.
That was used out
Okay.
of that, yep.
Okay,
So
great.
we did Georgia Public Broadcasting ads, photos, and new brochures.
Mm-hmm.
We also did ads for Cotton Fields Golf Course.
Right.
Those have been tremendously successful just in the couple of months that they've run. We've seen a lot of traffic and a lot of phone calls directly. We get a report from that every month. And any of you who are interested in any of the things that we do, we like to make sure everything we do is trackable, and so I can certainly send you any reports of any of that you're
Thank you.
interested in.
That was it. That's great. Great. Super great. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and I just have one other question, or any other comments from the board? Would you, again, restate the impact of our convention visitors and bureaus back to the taxpayers of Henry County? You made a statement in your presentation. Will you restate that as well?
The overall impact of tourism, there's a tax saving to residents of about $256 per household, and we say it's our tourism tax relief. Tourism money is new money that's not, and they don't require services like schools or education or fire, police, and so it's kind of not really, but in essence, free money coming in. And so that money coming in basically lightens the load of taxpayers, because it's money being spent at Tanger or at our attractions coming back to us in terms of local sales tax.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Luker. Thank you, Mr. Gill.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work. We're now moving to item 7 regarding the District 2 appointment to the Zoning and Advisory Board. And we have a resolution appointing Ms. Susan King as District 2 appointee to the Zoning Advisory Board to fill an unexpired term, which will be expiring 12/31/18. We now call for a motion to accept this resolution.
I so move.
We got a motion.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Prince. Is there any comments, discussions, or concerns? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. We now will move to the consent agenda. The following agenda items shall be considered on the consent agenda. We have a Henry County Police Department authorization to use asset forfeiture and seize funds to pay educational training costs for Deputy Chief Mark Ammerman to attend Command College. From the Emergency Management Association, we're requesting a resolution to authorize execution of the statewide mutual aid agreement with local county government and the Georgia Emergency Management Association. From Transit, we're requesting a resolution approving Amendment 1 to the Federal Transit Administration funding for FY 2017. From the DUI and Drug Court, there's a resolution requested approving a memorandum of understanding in conjunction with DUI Drug Court state certification. From Juvenile Court, there's a resolution authorizing Henry County Juvenile Court to apply for a grant from the Criminal Justice Coordination Council to fund ongoing evidence-based programs for high-risk juvenile offenders. And from Senior Services, there's a resolution requested authorizing Senior Services to accept Amendment Number 1 to the County Services Community Block Grant Contract for FY 2017. From Building and Plan Review, there's a resolution requested approving a request for the creation of a new street light district for the Summit at Heron Bay, Phase 2 on Highway 155. And also, there is a resolution from the Building and Plan Review requesting a resolution to request for the creation of a new street light district for the Preserve at Wrangell Subdivision on North Caramel Road in District 2. Are there any items that should be removed from the consent agenda? If not, there will be no items removed. I now call for a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
We got a motion by Commissioner Holmes.
Second.
We got a second by Commissioner Barnes. Any discussion, comments, or concerns? All in favor? Any opposed? This ends our consent agenda. We'll now move into our facilities maintenance, and we'll just ask Mr. Hutch Purvis to come forth with his presentation.
Good
Or
morning, Madam Chair.
presentations.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
We got two items. The first one is the emergency flooring replacement at the administration building lower level, the west side hallway. The flooring has buckled and is a safety hazard for county employees as well as patrons. The material and installation cost is $13,445. And we're recommending replacement.
Are there any questions for Mr. Purvis? Okay, we've heard the presentation. We call for a motion to approve this resolution. We got a motion by Commissioner Barnes.
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Prince. Any questions or comments, concerns? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. All right, Mr. Purvis, may continue on.
Okay, the second one is the purchasing department solicited sealed bids for the purchase of HVAC units for the Henry County Health Complex located at 135 Henry Parkway, bid number 17-40. It was posted on the website of the Henry County and ACCG and the Team Georgia Marketplace. 4 bids were received. Staff recommends approval of the bid 17-40 for the purchase of the HVAC units for Henry County Health Complex to the lowest bidder, Mingledorff's, in the amount of $66,351. Funds are available in Henry County Facility Maintenance budget.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Commissioner Prince.
My concern would be, these are all rooftop units.
Yes, sir.
My concern would be damage to the roof when they're installing the new HVAC systems. Are you going to require them some kind of bond or something, or use of a crane?
We're going to do the installation in-house.
Okay.
The
Are you going to use
My-
a crane or something? Because I just don't want, we just replaced the roof over there.
Right.
I really don't tracking on the roof is not a good idea.
Right, the plan is we're gonna replace them in clusters here. So yes, sir, we're gonna have a crane rental, and we'll start with number 1, and then on another date, we'll do number 2, and then so on and so forth.
Okay, so this is just for the equipment? not
Yes, sir,
for-
just equipment. We're doing all of it in-house.
And Mr. Purpose, what is the timeline for all of this? When will this all
Well,
end?
you know, depending on weather, we're gonna try to get it finished in the next, within the next month.
Okay, very good. Any other questions or comments? The floor is now open for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Clemens.
Second.
We got a second by Commissioner Wilson. Any comments, questions, or concerns? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Purpose. We now invite up Mr. Rod Gray to present a,
Good morning, everyone.
good morning.
The item I have today is an RFP for occupational medical services, which are required to include pre-employment physical exams, post-accident physical exams, drug, alcohol testing, and return-to-work exams. RFPs were solicited for these required services. 2 were received, and an evaluation committee reviewed and scored the proposals. Caduceus Occupational Medicine was determined to be ranked with the highest score. The evaluation committee recommends the award of RFP 1734 to Caduceus for occupational medical services with the unit prices included, funding with 1 year and 2 mutually agreed upon annual extensions. Funding for these services is allocated within the various departmental budgets.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Gray? All right, the floor is now open for a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
We got a motion by Commissioner Prince. Call it again. Second by Commissioner Holmes. Any comments, questions, or concerns? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Gray. All right, we'll now ask Mr. Floyd to come to present to us a resolution on technology services.
Good morning, Chair, board members.
Good morning.
I was asked to fix that first. The item before you will allow the transfer of $16,189 from contingencies to tech services repair and maintenance. With increased security needs around here, we recommend the additional cameras being added to an existing security system we have, which will cover some very critical areas that have not been covered with the existing system. That includes the building department, planning and zoning, large areas out here, hallways, and traffic outside. So this would cover most of the building anyway. We have an existing system that will be expanded to accommodate the additional cameras, and they will be monitored by the security downstairs that's being installed right now with an officer being present at all times. The cameras will have the capability to be monitored at any location in the county that has access to the software. This equipment will be purchased via sole source through Comtech, and the installation will be performed via annual contract through Comtech also at a cost of $16,189. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? Commissioner Prince.
Actually, I have a comment. Would you take a look at the north precinct, the side door coming out of the north precinct? It's a blind door. You know, I'm in there all the time, and you don't know what's out there. So
Yes.
if somebody get to drop on you there.
We're actually looking at a wall-mounted screen with a camera outside that allow you to see what's going on. Do you want that recorded, was the question I had.
Probably not. You just need to know if somebody's standing there, because if
Gotcha.
you open that door and they're there, you're not stopping them.
Yes, and I've been in contact with my guy at the PD and the people up there. We're just trying to find a good solution that's not so intrusive, hanging on the wall that we can use.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Barnes?
Skip, is this in addition that I've been seeing Comtech putting up some additional cameras around the building there? Is this some extra cameras beyond
Yes,
this?
this is part of the same system they've already installed, yes, sir.
Other questions, comments? The floor is now open for a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
We got a motion from Commissioner Prince.
Second.
We got a second by Commissioner Barham. Any further comments or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Lord. We'll now ask Mr. Wade Stroud to come forth regarding some Department of Transportation presentations.
Good morning, Chair and fellow board members.
Good morning.
This morning, DOT was asked to investigate the possibility of installing a multi-way stop at the intersection of Mosley Drive and Reagan Road due to public complaint. We had an engineering study that was done to see if the location met any of the warrants for a multi-way stop as required by the Manual for Uniform of Traffic Control Devices. Traffic counts and speeds were taken and entered into the warrant study. None of the warrants were satisfied for this location. The accident history was checked for this location. There's been one recorded accident since 2012. We did advertise this as a public hearing in the Henry Herald if any citizens wanted to come and participate in the discussion this morning. And the recommendation from staff is not to install the multi-way stop at this location. If you'll give me just a second, I'll try to pull the curtain away from what a warrant study is so you guys understand the things that we look at when we analyze an intersection like this for a multi-way stop. As you can see on the screen, Reagan Road is a through movement, and it does have a relatively sharp curve. Mosley Drive comes in. Luckily, on the high side of the curve, if it came in on the low side of the curve, obviously you'd have a difficult time seeing, but you do have sight distance going in both locations. When we look at accidents, one of the warrants for a multi-way stop for an intersection like this is there needs to be 5 correctable accidents in a calendar year period or a 1-year period from the analysis date. The other thing that we look at are traffic volumes. What needs to happen on a road intersection like this for it to meet the warrants for the traffic volumes is you need to have 300 cars an hour on Reagan Road, which is the through movement, and 200 cars an hour on Mosley Drive. You need to see this occur for an 8-hour block during a 24-hour period. It does not have to be consecutive, but as long as you have 300 cars on the main road and 200 on the side road in the same 1-hour block for 8 hours over a 24-hour period, that's acceptable for meeting that warrant. The last criteria is if you come into a situation where you're close, where you may have 4 accidents and you may have it meet for 7 hours out of the 8 for the 24 period, you do have an 80% rule that you can look at to bring, if both of those other criteria fall within that 80% of those requirements, then it does warrant a multi-way stop. I'll tell you, in this location, Reagan Road did not have the 300 requisite cars in any 1-hour block for the 24-hour time period that we requested, and Mosley Drive had over 200 cars in one 1-hour block, and that was the 7 to 8 a.m. hour in the morning. So that's where we based our recommendation of no installation on, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Any questions for Mr. Stroud? Good. Okay. All right. The floor is now open for a motion.
This is a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, well, this is a public hearing, and we now will allow those that are to oppose this request to have a total of 10 minutes to present their opposition, and also those that may be in favor, they will likewise have 10 minutes. So is there anyone wishing to oppose what has been presented? Calling again, is there anyone wishing to oppose? We now will allow those that wishing to speak in favor of this presentation to speak. Calling again, anyone wishing to speak in favor of what it was presented. Thank you. Now, this concludes the public hearing. And so Commissioner Prince, apparently there's some questions. We'll open it up to the board.
Let me explain to the public what we're doing here and what's going on. They did do the study on the intersection, and the intersection did not warrant a 3-way stop. I've been out there. It is a bad intersection. I've had multiple complaints out there, and I decided to go ahead and move forward with this, doing the public hearing in case there was anybody that opposed it, obviously. But my feelings are, I don't like sometimes the transportation studies because we base it on how many accidents there have been, instead of it's more reactive than it is proactive. So in this case, I would rather put stop signs up than have somebody killed there or fatality. And if you go out there, probably right now, you can actually see ruts in the yard, in somebody's yard, from where the cars have run off the road. So a lot of times they're accidents, but they're not reported. So that's why I went ahead and decided to go ahead and move on this without staff's recommendation. So, but I appreciate what you did, Wade, and I understand what you did, and I understand why staff is recommending turning it down. But this is just a matter of public safety. I think sometimes we need to use a little common sense. I'm not saying you guys don't, but
Yeah, totally understand. And Commissioner Prince, we recognize as a staff that this is a challenging intersection. When you look at roads like Reagan Road, typically what happened in the past is you had dirt roads that were simply paved in place, and this is a very tight curve on Reagan Road, and I think that when people are not aware of their surroundings and they're not aware of the speed limit and they exceed that speed limit on a road like this, it does present that challenge. You know, we've got some ideas of some ways that we can improve this intersection going forward. Obviously, that's going to take some sort of capital dollars to do so, but staff has already begun to investigate some concepts into what we can do to improve this intersection. So just know that we are looking into it, and it's something that we're taking seriously.
Okay. And again, just for my fellow board members, I do realize staff's turned this down, but this is just one of those matters that sometimes we have to do something that makes common sense and not necessarily engineering sense. So with that, I'm going to make a recommendation to approve.
All right. We've got a motion by Commissioner Prince and a second by Commissioner Holmes. Are there any questions or comments regarding this matter from the board? Okay. If not, all in favor of approving the stop sign? Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Stroud.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. We now will invite up a representative from Parks and Recreation, Mr. Morris, to come and speak to us about a presentation as well.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Parks and Recreation was asked to come before the board for approval to amend Section 3-13-2 of the ordinance of the park pet policy by adding line item number 9, which will state, it will be unlawful to allow any domesticated animal such as a dog, cat, or other domesticated pet to enter Village Park at North Henry, located at 750 Fairview Road, Ellenwood, Georgia, without express written permission of the county.
Okay. You've heard the presentation. Are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just want to say, this is a case where the few hurt the many. I received countless complaints regarding the type of dogs that have been coming up to the park, pit bulls, Rottweilers, and they're walking around the same track with kids. Parents are very concerned about bringing their kids to the park because they're afraid of an incident. And lastly, we're having serious issues with dog droppings throughout the park. I mean, we have the bags up and people aren't using the bags, so we have kids walking in dog crap throughout the park. So I think for now, this will be, I think, the only park that we will limit animals, but I think given the fact that it's a high traffic pedestrian park, it has to be done. So I'm gonna move to approve.
Okay, you got a question or comment?
Quick, Chairman. I just want to make the citizens in the 4th District kind of aware. Bud Kelly Park is a dog-friendly park, but I'm getting quite a bit of complaints. There are people out there that aren't leashing their dogs, and I understand, you know, it's your pet and you love them and it's a sweet dog, but you still have a leash law. Some people aren't comfortable with dogs, and so when you have an off-leash dogs, it may make somebody or parent uncomfortable. And also, when you don't clean up the dog poo, it really detracts when somebody steps in it and they complain about it. So just be very cognizant that we put up dog poo bags.
Right.
And like I say, there is a leash law. I really don't want to have to ban dogs from Bud Kelly. It's just not that kind of park. But please be mindful of other people when you're out there. So
Yes.
And I'll second.
Okay, well, other questions or comments before we get back to motion? Okay. All right, well, I've heard a motion from Commissioner Holmes, a second from Commissioner Prince. Any further discussions, comments, or concerns? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have several planning and zoning items to present today, so we'll ask Mr. Gibbs to come for the presentations, and these will all be public hearings as well.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners.
Good morning.
The first planning and zoning item before you is a rezoning request to rezone the subject property from C3 to RA. The subject property was one of the several tracts rezoned as part of the Henry Promenade development that is now considered a failed development. The applicant is requesting to rezone the subject property back to the original RA, which is residential agricultural zoning, from the current C3 zoning. Within the last several months, neighboring properties to the subject property received BOC approval for similar or the same rezoning back to RA, and the subject property owner is requesting the same. Planning and zoning staff recommended approval to the Zoning Advisory Board on January 12th, and the Zoning Advisory Board is recommending approval to the Board of Commissioners. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Okay, after your, we will definitely, this is a public hearing regarding RZ 1634. So again, because of this is a public hearing, we will now ask persons wishing to be heard in opposition. They will be given a total of 10 minutes to present their opposition, and then likewise, those in favor will be given 10 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to please come forward now? Calling again, anyone to speak in opposition to please come forward now. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor? Would you please come forward now? Calling again, anyone wishing to speak in favor, would you please come forward now? This concludes our public hearing. We now have any other questions or comments from the board?
Just got one comment.
Yes.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is part of that promenade, and y'all just heard that, and we've had several of these cases that come back, and we've done the right thing by reverting these back. So unless there's any other comments, I'll be prepared to make a motion.
Okay, any other questions or comments before we move for it open? All right, we now have a motion from Commissioner Barham
Yes, I would make a motion to rezone from C3 to RA, the residential agricultural, for the property located at 1250 North Bridges Road and land lot 112 of the 6th District.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Barham. Is there a second?
Second.
We got a second by Commissioner Prince. Any further comments, questions, or concerns? All in favor? Any opposed? Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you, Chair. The next case is a request for a comprehensive plan amendment for property located at 3198 Jodico Road. And the applicant is requesting to amend the future land use map from medium-density residential to commercial. As part of a previous rezoning, the subject property is a result of the combining of the northern portion of the subject property that abuts Jodico Road and the southern portion of the property that abuts Highland Drive and Meadowbrook Drive. This resulted in the now one tract having two different future land use designations, and the requested amendment to the future land use map is required in order for the applicant to rezone the said property so that they can utilize the southern half of the property as part of the outdoor play area of their daycare facility. Planning and zoning staff recommended approval to the Zoning Advisory Board on January 12th, and the Zoning Advisory Board recommends approval to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay. All right. This is a public hearing. So anyone regarding comps AM 1608, anyone wishing to be heard in opposition to this request will have a total of 10 minutes. Likewise, anyone in favor will have 10 minutes as well. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this presentation? Call it again. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Now, 10 minutes to be allocated to anyone that may want to speak in favor. Call in again. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Leslie Germano. I'm the owner of the subject property, and this property needs to have this rezone for that one little fragment down at the facing toward Highland in order that the state will allow that property to be used as a daycare center. It has been a daycare center for many, many years, but when the vandalism came in, we lost our grandfather status. because we were more than 6 months to getting it repaired. But it is needed there. The daycare is needed. The jobs are needed that this will bring. I would appreciate your favorable approval of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garmano. Is there anyone else or any further comments, Ms. Garmano? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? This now concludes our public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the Board of Commissioners on this?
Just one question.
Yes, Commissioner Barnes.
Dante and I went out and viewed the site and looked it over, and you and I have had this discussion. This is just kind of cleaning up something that really needs to be cleaned up.
Yes.
So, thank you.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns from the board? The floor is now open for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
We got a motion by Commissioner Barnes. Got a second by Commissioner Holmes. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Gibbs, you may proceed.
The next case is the same subject property, and it is a rezoning request to rezone the subject property from R3 to C2. The property is located at 3198 Jodico Road, and the applicant is requesting that this subject portion that abuts Highland Drive and Meadowbrook Drive, highlighted in yellow within the green hash on the map on the overhead, the applicant is asking that that portion of the subject property be rezoned from R3 single-family residence to C2 in order to utilize the subject portion of the property as an outdoor play area of their daycare facility. Given that the subject portion of the subject property is a part of a tract having C2 zoning already, Planning and Zoning staff recommended approval to the Zoning Advisory Board on January 12th, and the Zoning Advisory Board recommends approval to the Board of Commissioners with one condition. And that condition is that this property shall only be used as an outside play area for the daycare center. Be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Okay. Well, this is a public hearing regarding RZ 1631. Persons wishing to be heard in opposition of this request will have a total of 10 minutes, and anyone in favor will have 10 minutes as well. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition, will you please come forward? Calling again, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? We now call for anyone wishing to speak in favor.
I'm Leslie Germano, owner of the subject property. My comments are the same as before. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Germano. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? The public hearing is now concluded. Are there any questions or comments from the board regarding this? The floor is now open for a motion for approval.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to rezone from R3 to C2 for the property located at 3198 Jodico Road in land lot 79 of the 6th District.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Barnes.
Second.
We got a second by Commissioner Prince. Any further comments, questions, or concerns? Oh, all in favor? Any opposed? Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you, Chair Wood.
Myself from this, as you can clearly see in the paperwork, I did the survey on this subject property that we're about to rezone. I would like to tell my constituents, I try very, very hard not to do any surveys or do any work on any property located in the 4th District that I know is coming up for rezoning, so I can represent you. This one slid under the radar. I don't know if I was exactly sure that he was going to rezone or not when we did the survey, but that being said, I'm going to have to leave it to my other commissioners to make the decision here. I think they know how I feel about certain things. So with that, I'm going to have to step out.
All right, duly noted.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. The application or the case before you is a rezoning request, excuse me, to rezone the subject property from O&I, Office Institutional to C2, General Commercial, for the property located at 3249 Jodico Road in land lot 79 of the 6th District. The property consists of 0.522 plus or minus acres, and the proposed use is retail sales. The applicant is requesting this rezoning, like I said, as potential retail sales. And as the subject property currently exists, it is considered a legal non-conforming lot due to not meeting the minimum lot size for O&I zoning having a septic system. The minimum lot size for O&I zone property having a septic system is 32,670 square feet, and the subject property is 22,743 square feet. The future land use map designation of the subject property is commercial and technically supports the applicant's request. However, due to the legal non-conformance of the subject property, the owner will be required to meet all commercial development and highway corridor overlay district requirements in the event there is redevelopment or any modification to the subject property. With that said, planning and zoning staff recommended approval to the zoning advisory board on January 19th with 4 conditions, and the zoning advisory board recommends to the board of commissioners approval with 6 conditions, and I'll place those on the overhead.
Mr. Gibbs, will you state the conditions that you're referencing?
Condition number 1 states that the redevelopment of the subject property to the extent that the existing structure is removed or replaced shall require a deceleration lane meeting the requirements of the Henry County Department of Transportation. In the case of the in the case of such redevelopment, a 10-foot multi-use path will be required to replace the existing sidewalk all along the subject property's frontage along Jolica Road as approved by Henry County DOT. Condition number 2, any new building shall be constructed of brick, stucco, stone, glass, or any combination thereof. Condition 3, dumpsters shall be placed on a concrete pad and enclosed on 3 sides. The enclosure shall be constructed of brick, stone, stucco, or any combination thereof, and shall not exceed 8 feet in height. Condition 4, primary ground signage shall consist of monument-based sign that is constructed of brick, stone, stucco, or any combination thereof, and shall not exceed 6 feet in height. Condition 5, any required exterior lighting shall require all lighting to be of moderate brightness and downcast. And condition number 6, any use that is otherwise allowed in the C2 zoning district may be permitted, except that pawn shops shall not be permitted.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. This, again, is another public hearing regarding RZ 1635. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition will have 10 minutes. Those in favor will also have 10 minutes. We're now calling on anyone that wants to speak in opposition to please come forward now. Last call. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition, please come forward now. Those in favor, you also have 10 minutes. Would you please come forward now? Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is David Parker. I'm the owner of the property. My wife and I used to operate a customs brokerage out of that building, which was formerly a residence, and we had it zoned O&I to operate our office out of that. But then we bought a building over in Corporate Center, and that's where we currently operate our business. So this building has been empty for a couple of years now, and we have family members who want to use it as a shop to sell crafts and refurbished furniture. So we wouldn't be charging them any rent, but we figured we'd give them a chance if they want it. And any questions?
I have a question. So you're just going to use it for a family member to sell antiques out of?
Right. They're just opening a little shop in there.
I rode by the location, and it's a for sale sign on the property?
There was, but that contract has expired, so it's not for sale. It's not listed with anybody right now. But if anybody wants to buy it, I will entertain offers.
Mr. Parker, you stated that you wanted to do like a furniture store or antique shop. Is that what you're looking to do there?
We currently have, we have family members that sell crafts and refurbish furniture at flea markets right now, and they just want to move the stuff in there and open a little shop and sell it there.
Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner Clemens.
So if someone wants to buy it and it's sold, will you be selling it for a furniture store or any? Because basically, if we zone this and
no, we've told the family members that if anybody wants to buy that, we're going to sell it to them, and they'll have to find another place to do their business.
Yeah, but I'm concerned about the buyer. If it's sold, let's say it's sold to, I don't know, any type of convenience store, I don't know. That C2 allows a lot of different things.
Right.
So I'm concerned about what would come there if it's zone C2 and you sell it. So are you going to be selling it with conditions that it has to be that?
Well,
or-
the zoning, planning and zoning people have already put conditions on there. If they want to knock down the building and put something else there, they're going to have to upgrade the sewer facilities and everything else. But I can't foresee what would.
Okay, other questions? Other
Sorry.
questions or comments from the board?
Madam Chair, I'd like to add a couple more conditions to this to match the other. That the subject property shall be limited to the following uses. A furniture store. B, an antique store. 8, the subject property shall connect to available sewer and meet all current commercial development code standards in all Henry County Highway Corridor Overlay District standards in the event that the subject property is redeveloped and modified in any way from its current state.
All right. You've heard the conditions, sir. Can you accept those?
There are no current sewer facilities in the area, so it has to be septic right now until the sewer line goes in.
The requirement is that any property that's within 2,000 feet of sewer has to tie in. And yes, if they were to tie in currently, they would have to cross private property, which would require an easement. There is another development happening, the racetrack gas station on Jodica Road, that will tie into sewer and actually make sewer available down Jodica Road. So eventually there will be sewer available without crossing the private property.
Okay, and the other conditions were noted regarding the type of business, regarding furniture or antique store. Okay. Okay. Well, any others in favor of this request with the conditions stated? This now concludes our public hearing. Are there any other questions or comments from the Board of Commissioners? The floor is now open for a motion open for a motion.
Chair, I so move that we accept this with the conditions as stated by staff and adding the additional conditions that we stated.
We got a motion from Commissioner Clemens.
Second.
We got a second by Commissioner Barham. Any further questions or comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
one quick note. With the new additional conditions, the original condition number 6 would need to be stricken from the conditions because it contradicts one of the new conditions.
Okay, will you clarify again? It
Sure.
shows it up
Con-
here.
condition-
Conditions up there, and I didn't know, so.
No problem. Condition number 6 basically limits it says that the C2 zoning will allow all uses except pawn shops, but with the new condition number 7 that states that it'll be limited to just furniture store and antique shops contradicts that condition. So that condition needs to be removed from the conditions.
Okay, we need a motion then.
Do we have to Patrick, do we have to withdraw our motion in
No,
second?
you can amend the motion. The
We
motion
can
can
amend
be
the
amended.
motion.
That's all
Okay.
you need.
So I amend the motion that we scratch out, remove condition number 6. And so number 7 will become 6 and number 8 will become 7.
All right, very good. We got a motion with those changes and revisions. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we got a motion.
Second.
We got a second by Commissioner Barham. Any further comments, questions, or concerns? All in favor? Any opposed? And so to note that Commissioner Prince did abstain. Okay, well, item E has been removed, as previously stated, and so has item 15. We will now move to our public comments, where citizens are allowed to voice county-related concerns, opinions that are not listed on the agenda during this portion of the meeting. All persons wishing to speak for public comments must sign in with the county clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. You must complete the public comment speaker form or you will not be recognized, and you will be able to address the board for 5 minutes. Each person who addresses this board shall not make personal, impertinent, slanderous, or profane remarks to any member of this board, staff, or general public. Any person who makes such remarks or who utters loud, threatening, personal, or abusive language or engages in any other disorderly conduct which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of any board meeting shall, at the discretion of the chair or at the majority of the board, be barred from further audience before the board during that meeting. We will now enter into our public comments. Our first public comment will come from Mr. Bill Toney regarding the Water Authority. Okay, thank you. We will now move to Mr. Carl Swenson to discuss topics on the Fairview Park and the police precinct.
Carl Swenson from Stockbridge, the unincorporated part. I went up to the infamous Destination Park up on Fairview and Anvil Block Road just after the rain yesterday, and I have some pictures that I want to show you. Right now it's more or less a mud park. The design on this is really seriously lacking, and I want to bring your attention to the first picture here. If you can zoom in on that. What you see here is the culvert that comes out. That's all the drain for the entire park, empties out into this retention pond. If you'll notice that with the water levels down, that's all that's available to go through that retention pond. I mean, that culvert, which means that on a good heavy rain, we got trouble because that's going to now start backing up. That's a design flaw, serious design flaw. In addition to that, as you can see, we didn't have much rain. We got a little bit, but I don't know what you got in your area. We probably got less than an inch. And this is what it looks like. It didn't get to the overflow there, and that concrete thing you see there is where the overflow, when it really gets full, is going to go. And that leads to the problem of where exactly does that go? Because it faces the neighbor's property, and on the other side of your walk path, you have this. That's where all the water is going to be going. And on the other side of your silt fence, right now you have, with no water coming through there, a steady stream going onto the neighbor's property. And I don't know if you guys had considered this, but you better now, because there's going to be trouble coming down the road for you on this, and it's going to cost more money. You're already into it to the tune of what, $6.5 million, and you're probably going to want to throw another couple million in there at the expense of the $4 million that was going to be, or is supposed to be, the police precinct up there. They're getting flooded out here. And we have a new owner of this property. I just met him yesterday, too. Very nice gentleman, Willie. I talked to him and his dad, and he couldn't figure out what was going on. Let me help you to understand what's going on. This land was disturbed. Prior to the grading and everything that was done, yes, there was a bunch of trees on there, and it was allowed to absorb. They all were part of the absorption process. Now you've got all these pipes underground. Just like in a development, when you have a little bit of a slope, guess what? Water's going to run downhill, even underground. So this water is seeping out. It's not coming over the overflow, it's seeping out. That's a design flaw, serious design flaw. Now, another aspect of this, which is problematic, it was there the last time I was there, and it's still there. This is your walk path. You'll notice mud on one side and a bunch of fill to try and mask this water. that stays that way until it's finally drained. Where you see the person in yellow is another egress for the water. So on this one property, you've got 2 points of egress for water. It's all going to go downhill. It's all going to go downhill. And it's all going to go on their property. You've already had to replace the driveway for one of the gentlemen there. And the next big rain, which may be tomorrow, may cause you to have to replace another driveway. So folks, you're throwing good money after bad. We still don't have the built police precinct that $4 million was allocated for. You've taken $2 million away from that, and you've got nothing to show for it except the mud puddle.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Our next public comment will come from Mr. Don Dunlap regarding signs.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners.
Good morning.
First, thanks so much for what you guys do to help make our community a better place to live, work, play, and pray. I know that it's a difficult job, and I appreciate as a citizen what you guys do. We had the Convention and Visitors Bureau folks here this morning talking about the things that they do to bring folks into our community, and I, as a taxpayer, like that $256 in tax relief. One of the things, though, that concerns me a little is that a lot of the folks that are coming into our community are being assailed, for want of a better term, by folks that are waving signs selling mattresses or tax services and those kinds of things. And when I look at the code, it looks like you've got to have a permit to do that, and that there are some handheld signs that are exempted from that for parades, demonstrations, assemblies, and picketing. And it doesn't appear to me, obviously I'm not a lawyer, that those exceptions would apply. And I know there's lots of laws to be enforced, but I was just wondering if you guys would maybe have somebody look and see if it's something that maybe we could have an enforcement person talk to these business owners and let them know that it is unsightly. It doesn't make Henry County look the way that we want it to look, in my just personal opinion. I appreciate y'all's service and your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunlap. Our next public comment will come from Mr. Joanne Barber. And this is regarding street fixed. Good morning.
How you all doing this morning?
Good, thank you.
I've come to talk about my street. I live off of Willow Lane. I live at 176 Sherwood Loop. And I've been on about 18 years. I am a citizen. I came before, and I did get my street light. Thank to you, my son, for my street light. So I'm coming back again, seeking we get my street. It's just like a river running. And it's a mess, 18-wheelers, and comes over there and everything. So that's the only thing I came out here for, to get the streets fixed where I live at over there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Our next comment, public comment, comes from Mr. Larry Morey regarding government.
In representation of ethics in government, you know, a few weeks ago we heard an argument between our chairman and Mr. Holmes about a park up in Fairview. So I took it upon myself at a request of a taxpayer up there to go look at it. And I would hope that all of y'all have went and looked at it. If it was that much disagreement to be bringing it up here and arguing about it, you should at least go look at it. I've probably seen the worst designed playground in the history of Henry County. The sidewalks done washed in too. They had to repair it because of water. In the original layout, Walmart was going to buy the property. There's a traffic light to the property. Walmart had actually built an entrance to the property. Then Henry County comes along, and rather than enter where a red light is, with already a curb cut double entry, you guys decided to move up 50 feet and build another one. Now, Mr. Holmes and a lot of people were very concerned about people getting run over there because they were doing 60 miles an hour. But there's a traffic light right there. They can't be doing 60 unless they're drag racing. But what amazed me is you didn't use the one you had. You went right up 50 feet and built another one. And there was already a traffic light with an intersection. I just couldn't imagine. That just blows my mind. But really what even made it further a problem was we entered into it where you did build the driveway, and rather than build your parking on the peripheral, because you had 3 entrances, you built it in the center of the park. And you built playgrounds here and there and water park around the parking. Now, I know your kids are not on steroids like most kids, but I can just imagine what's going to happen. I'd a lot more worry about those kids running through that parking lot to those play areas than I would be worried about a child getting run over out there on that sidewalk or on that street. Because that's a recipe for disaster when you put everything parking interior and peripheral with children. So I was just amazed that that happened. Any taxpayer of Henry County want to go look at a park that originally cost $4 million, that has already had $6.5 million spent, and have requested another $2 million. You need to go look at that for yourself, and especially when it rains, because as Mr. Carl said, that's a showcase of disaster. Now we're going to go to the second part. If I have time, I asked for 15 minutes, but our chairman don't want to allow nobody to speak but 5 minutes unless she wants them to. So I went to Ms. Sherry about a month ago about Mr. Jogstetter. You know, we got numerous lawsuits right now on drainage. And we're going to have another one up there on the people. The guy next door said, I'm just through with Henry County. He just moved. Well, now we got another guy that's bought it, and the first thing happens is the rain indulges him with overflow, so now we could probably have another one there. And Mr. Jogstetter, when you bought this fiasco behind you, the golf course, he forgot to tell you guys about something, but it just seems that was overlooked. So I took to each one of you where Mr. Jogstetter had sent to the Attorney General for the state of Georgia one interpretation and sent our judge another interpretation. And he had broke the law twice on a hearing on voting registration. What does it take for you to make too many mistakes before you replace your county attorney? You've got a lawsuit right now in federal court, whistleblower lawsuit, because of him. You fired him one time before and you brought him back, and now he's doing the same crazy stuff again. I was just, I wonder what it takes to replace somebody. Does it take something really serious? Well, a federal lawsuit is pretty serious. Last but not least, we still building warehouses. We still have no remedy for out-of-control warehouses. We still have no stopgap in place. And again, I'm going to tell you, write it down and date it. In 2 years, when you so-called leaders can't get to this building because of traffic, maybe then you'll understand. But until you do, just keep appropriating more warehouses. You're bound and determined to do it. But when it shuts this county down, all you people are going to worry about it then. Every one of you. Thank you. I hope one day that you get reduced from 15 minutes to 5 minutes. Ms. Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Maury. We have no further public comments. We will now move to item 17 regarding the approval of our minutes for the March 15th BOC called meeting, the March 21st BOC called meeting, and also the March 21st BOC regular meeting, and again, the March 22nd BOC called meeting. We now open the floor for a motion of approval of the minutes.
So moved.
We got a motion by Commissioner Barnes. Is there a second?
Second.
We got a second by Commissioner Clemens. Are there any discussions, comments, or concerns? All in favor of the minutes of the approval? Any opposed? We now will have any comments from the commissioners and myself. Any comments from anyone?
Yes, I have.
Commissioner Clemens.
I have a comment about the farmers market at Nash Farms that was held this past Sunday. And we had about 150 people that was there within a 2-hour period, and it turned out to be a great event. And it's just one of the things that we're doing to try to revitalize some of the properties that the county purchased years ago that we've had a lot of complaints about not being used, not being accessed. Parks and recreation centers are quality of life initiatives, and we just wanted to highlight and thank the community for coming out supporting the Nash Farmers Market. There was some advertisement done on the event by CVB and our county media department, and I just want to thank the citizens for that. And we are actively working on the issues down where the warehouse and the industrial area is. And I just want to say to the citizens of District 2, because I do get calls or emails every week about the warehouses issue, and that area is zoned industrial. It has been zoned industrial for a very, very long time. And as homeowners started selling their large parcels of land for development in those houses that were built in that area, I think that it was poor planning many years ago that allowed residents to move in an area that was majority industrial area. So I'm having to apologize for past issues that we're now dealing with. This board is actively trying to invest and correct and work with our state to improve the area where there's a high issue with traffic congestion. So just so that the citizens of District 2 know that we are actively working on that as a board and looking forward to the expansion of and the widening of 155.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Prince.
Short comment. Just for the citizens of the 4th District, we have increased the litter pickup over the last couple of weeks, and I hope you see a difference. I know I'm seeing a little bit of a difference, but again, please don't throw out trash. And if you see somebody throwing out trash, or if you see one of the trash truck blowing out trash, please let us know, and we'll go see them. So, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Well, I would like to add regarding the farmers market on Sunday, was able to definitely experience that with fresh fruits and vegetables, organics, and also meats. Did also note that we are supporting some of our local citizens here for what they're doing regarding agriculture and making sure that we're healthy as well. So I commend that day and those that were there for that day. It was a great turnout. And then regarding our comprehensive transportation improvement plan, so as Commissioner Clemens has just stated, we are quite aware of a lot of our traffic congestion issues. Great news is that we already have a comprehensive transportation improvement program that is identifying priorities, that it will be a focus of this Board of Commissioners throughout this community based on that comprehensive joint transportation plan. So again, thank you for your comments. I have no other further comments. Regarding upcoming meetings and events, April 18th is our next regularly scheduled Board of Commissioner meetings at 6:30 p.m. I will be absent. Commissioner Prince will be chairing that meeting as vice chair. And then on May 2nd at 9 a.m. is the next regular BOC meeting. Any other comments or questions regarding upcoming events? Ms. Braun.
April 11th at 1 p.m. for the insurance, and I'll be posting that to the website. We just started,
Okay, I don't know if anyone could hear you, but there is a special call meeting on April the 11th at 1 o'clock p.m. regarding the Henry County employee insurance. Thank you. We will now move into executive session to discuss litigation.
pending and potential litigation and real estate acquisitions.
Okay. We now call for a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
We got a motion by Commissioner Barham.
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Clemens. We will now, all in favor? We will now enter into the executive session.